Doesn't your eyeball speak to you in your same voice?
Well, that makes sense, I guess. Because eyeballs have the same voice as what they lived in, right?
You think it's his brown eye?
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Server Restarted. It's a weekly World of Warcraft podcast where three opinionated players get together to discuss their thoughts and opinions about the current state of the game. My name is Jim, joined by Kristen.
Hello.
And Brian.
Hello.
And this week was a massive lore dump, or retcon, depending on how you want to look at it.
Was it a retcon?
I think there was probably some retconning of... I guess, okay, so basically...
Don't sugarcoat it. I know where you're going. You're just going to sugarcoat it, aren't you?
What do you mean?
Huh?
I don't know if you can really call an unknown backstory retconning.
Yeah, well, it's not. I don't know. Go ahead. Say what you're going to know.
So when you hit renown level 50, after you do the first two renown things, you unlock the third renown chapter or whatever, or the third campaign chapter, and it is called Dreadlords. And you basically are following up on the Dreadlords that came in, and in doing so, you're tracking them down and all this other stuff, and you start to get a info dump from Renethal and a couple of other people.
You notice they keep doing the same thing, though, right?
What do you mean?
By the way, I've been at this all along, and blah, 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 blah. That has happened a lot this expansion.
I mean, that's what Dreadlords do.
Yeah, it's not just Dreadlords, though. Like, Muzala did it, right?
Yeah.
Muzala, right? He did it. Helia did it, right? She just did it too. Like, I've been something at this the whole time, or blah, blah, blah. Some bullshit, like trying to make sure that bridge is made and any possible gaps in lore are taken care of right then and there. And I find that incredibly fucking annoying. Like, it's like, isn't it? It's Mal'Ganis, right? Mal'Ganis at the end of that says something about, like, like this was the thing all along, and it was just a plan. Or I don't know. He gives all these things like we were here and there, all that crap. We're everywhere doing our plan or some shit.
Right. Basically,
like, come on.
You're tracking down the Dreadlords, and they're leading everybody on a wild goose chase because it's all a distraction. Because they're really going in to steal Remornia and Nathrezim. So they go steal him from the tower where he's being bathed in the light. Right. So that's the whole thing. That's like the whole current plot line of the story is they get the sword with the Nathrezim in it back, and while you're preoccupied doing other stuff. That's the main plot point. It starts off, you're going up to Lady Vash to get the quest, and she's like, hurry, champion, the Primus must be stopped or whatever. Basically saying that we need to stop the Primus for whatever reason. And then the real Lady Vash comes up and kills the other Lady Vash, which is a Dreadlord. Go figure. Which, when the fuck did that happen?
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
Like in the very beginning, and she's like, I've been able to see Dreadlords forever. Because she worked with Lord Illidan.
They kind of glossed over that one because at that point, like, I fully expected that probably wasn't her the whole time. That was just like that situation. Like the start of that quest was just like,
right.
You know what I mean? An opportunity was there and they went ahead and took that spot.
Yeah. I don't know if it was the Dreadlord the whole time that she was stationed there because, I mean, it wasn't
a lot of context.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to go back and look, and I don't think you can, but yeah, and it starts like that, and then you go to Sinfall, meet with Renathal, do a bunch of stuff, and you meet with, and you basically go with Lady Vash and what's his nuts, the blood elf dude, Kel'Thas,
Lost.
right? And it's funny because they're talking about shit, and there's a little bit where they're talking about wondering where Illidan is or whatever, if he's, which covenant he ended up in or whatever. And Lady Vash is like, you're assuming that he's mortal and dead.
Yeah.
Wait,
I
Illidan?
remember that.
Yeah, they were talking about Illidan. Kael'thas and Vash were talking about Illidan
because they didn't
because they don't know that he's
yeah,
because they've been gone for a while.
yeah.
And
Because I'm like, wait a minute, he's not dead.
yeah, that was kind of
Oh, we took care of that issue.
Yeah.
No worries.
but that was kind of the
About
whole
that.
point. It was just kind of like this funny, like their boss
Yeah.
from BC isn't around, so they don't know if he's dead. They don't know what happened to him.
Huh.
And Lady Vash obviously just thinks the world of him because she's like, you're assuming that he's even immortal or amortal, not immortal, and he's able to die and come here kind of thing. So, which I thought that was kind of funny. But so you talk to them, you find out from Denathrius you find out from Renathal that Denathrius created the
Dreadlords.
The Dreadlords. They created the Nathrezim just out of whatever. Like it's not. Well,
There was a reason.
Twine.
But there was a reason, though, right?
I don't know if there's a reason.
It was something
why.
about infiltrating and
Right, well-
Oh, yeah.
He created them after the first Venthyr and the Court of Harvesters were created, but most other Venthyr, I think, are souls, right? That are come into the Shadowlands, and
right, like the quest line and
right.
that we went across.
Yeah, like they're made from souls, but the original Venthyr and Court of Harvesters weren't, and neither were the fucking Nathrezim. Why I can't remember words tonight. Too much booze.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
Booze
so
hound.
yeah. But yeah, it says he made them to infiltrate other cosmic forces and spread the influence of death. They were basically like the House of Spies, but before the House of Spies from Eldraxi. They were basically meant to be spies and to infiltrate and just like, subterfuge and all that stuff to go out. And the reason that, supposedly the reason that the Naru came and attacked the Ember Ward was because when the Nathrezim were infiltrating like the light forces or whatever, they got caught. And the light was like, well, fuck you, and showed up and, scorched the earth kind of thing. And in the fight against the Naru, the Stone Legion, all the gargoyle stuff were key in pushing it back, but a lot of them died. So the Stone Right, the Venthyr that made them all, got pissed and demanded that something be done. So Denathrius exiled them to Nathreza was the planet I think he ended up sending them to, which put them out into the real or the material plane or the real whatever plane we're from or realm. And from there,
Was that the first time that Nathreza was mentioned?
I don't know. I think not. I think Nathreza was mentioned beforehand as the home planet for the Nathrezim. Trying to see if I can find it.
Oh, yep. Yeah, you're right. You're
Like,
right. Yep, I'm reading.
Back when they talked about the Burning Legion, because I think
Yeah.
Sargeras came across them, and I don't know if Nathreza was the planet that they were on that was corrupted by the old gods, and they told Sargeras about all the old god and the corruptions and stuff like that, which, was true for that, and he killed that planet, and all that stuff. But like there was a whole bunch of them around, which if they're this fucking good at the long con, I'm curious about the one that was in the Temple of the Light in Legion, the Lightbound event.
Right, that's what I was thinking about too.
Yeah, like is he really like all good and light focused.
You know he's not. They can't be. There's not. It's just not possible, right?
You
Or
would
was he one of the
assume.
ones that got blasted with the Naru? Because like they were trying to blast Illidan.
I don't.
Was that the reason he was always bright and shiny?
I don't know. I don't know. I
Oh.
don't know what process because I don't think they blasted Torellian. You know what I mean? I
He
think
was
like
just a zealot.
right, but he
Well-
was with them in the 10,000 Year War or whatever,
Yeah.
and it could have just been a proximity.
So it's funny because let's see. So they were created by Nathrezim countless ages ago, just after the Venator were sired, to infiltrate other cosmic forces and spread the influence of death. They don't have a like a citation there, where that is kind of stated. So
Well, it might be
Unless-
at the end of.
unless that is a part of
It's
that.
probably 18 on there. Yeah, I think it's in the quests, convoy of the
Yeah,
covenants.
maybe it is actually. I'm just hoping it's not taken out of context, because that's a pretty good read right there. But
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that that's what Renathal was saying. When you take the flight to wherever and you're riding with him, he tells you a
Mhm.
lot of stuff. So you had to like really kind of like listen. And I would talk to all the people that were standing there that you could talk to get a little bit more information.
yeah, I did too.
Because I'm like, there's stuff here, you know.
Yeah,
And you see a lot of them at the very end because Mal'Ganis shows back up. Mal'Ganis, and he's not even like the ringleader. You know what I mean? It's just like when you get all the notes in Sinfall from like all like the secret writings or whatever, it's like somebody wrote these and is telling everybody what to do. And I don't know who, I forget who wrote them, but he had things for everybody to do. And I think Mal'Ganis was pretending to be a drudger. Like one of the little
Oh.
stubby dudes. Because like when you go meet him at the end, he's a drudger and he turns into Mal'Ganis. He's one of like the little people.
Oh, interesting. Was that Mal'Ganis?
Yes. Like when you go fight him at the very end, he's up at the top of the
Yeah.
thing and he's a drudger and he turns into his dreadlord form.
Oh, wow, interesting. Yeah, I didn't catch that part.
So like there's all kinds of stuff about what they're doing and like they're trying to get all this shit. And I think basically they were only in there. Like some people think that maybe they came back after, you know, the jailer, or they sent all the anima to the jailer, or to rescue Nathrezim, or I think the Primus said, you know, like maybe they never even left, you know, and like with the way they are, like a bunch of them could have been exiled, but a bunch of them could have always been around too, you know, and so yeah, so they get out and they get into the world. They get with the twisting nether with the burning legion, and all this other shit happens. Blah blah blah, and now they're back. I enjoyed it, although it seems like there is some confusion about just them in general. About some
You
of the
can
stuff.
tell you could tell it was just kind of thrown in there to probably spice up or prepare a future story. That's what I thought was kind of awkward about it. I wish it would have been threaded a little bit more from the beginning of the expansion, more so, because that is a very interesting take on things. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I mean, with the end of the Sanctum of Domination, right? It's kind of like, all right, well, we don't know where he went technically. We guess that I don't know. I think one of the guesses was something about him going to his own covenant again or something like that. If that's the case, he still may be in the Shadowlands realm. He may not be in the Shadowlands realm. He might be somewhere else. I think we even mentioned something about him being in some light realm because of the style of the portal.
I thought it was a
But the fact,
time thing.
or like a time, yeah, whatever. But at that point, like why the hell are we still in the Shadowlands at this point? Then, right? Like, because with the Nathrezim, well, that's really interesting, right? And they are threaded throughout the entire history of the story
Oh yeah, they're everywhere. I mean,
in
Burning
many
Legion-
different places.
Yeah,
And then that little bit was just like, oh, by the way, this is where we started. This is why we were out there. master's plan, but like the context didn't really give anything. So it was hard to see if that was
Yeah.
Denathrius's plan.
Yeah.
And if he had a plan the entire time, like, okay, well, why were they created originally? Like, what was he actually trying to accomplish?
I guess the question
in the
is,
beginning?
when was the jailer locked up? And is that before the Nathrezim were created? So were they created
That's true. Yeah.
after he was like, it's like when they,
Yeah, because most likely all the Shadowland covenants that do these little jobs, I don't think they were probably created all at the same time. Or did they mention that at all? Do you recall?
I don't know. I think that to me, it would almost seem like the leaders of the covenants were charged with their task, like they were assigned their role, and that they probably, were given this is, what you're doing. You are going to be like to Denathrius. You are going to take the worst of the worst and, give them one last opportunity to repent for their
Come
sins.
back into order.
Yeah, that kind of
Well,
thing.
if that were the case, so let's say that there is a situation where whatever the jailer was going on with him that got him put into the mall or to that story before it started or as it started, say that's a situation and they had to recraft their sigils once before or something, right? Or take charge of these things and start building these things up. I mean, that might line up at that point.
Well, that's weird too, because and we don't know, did they craft the sigils or were the sigils given to them by the first ones? Because they're talking about
that's a
crafting
good point.
a new Venthyr sigil, but they need all the medallions or the Court of Harvesters to do so. But does that mean Denathrius crafted his own to begin with, and because he empowered the Court of Harvesters and imbued them with some of his power, that they can combine it all to do it again? Or are they just trying to replicate
Something they can't technically create?
yeah, or try to do it to the best of their ability, which, again, if you create the sigil, what difference does it fucking make if he's gone?
It's true, yeah.
What does creating a sigil mean if he already has the sigils? I mean, unless
Damn
this
it.
story
Doesn't make any
stuff.
sense.
Well,
Yeah.
you have to think though too. The campaign stuff might be happening to lead up to Sanctum of Domination raid versus
No, I think we're past that, dude. I think that was as soon as we got the quest to do the Sanctum of Domination, I think that storyline branch went that direction. And now we're dealing with the extra ordinary crap.
that's so confusing because
Well, that's what I was saying.
Because it
We were
doesn't
talking on WoW yesterday. That's what was pissing me off, was that it doesn't really line up when you try to think about it. But
yeah, it doesn't
mean,
line
that's-
up because why are they trying to make sigils?
that's what
if
it
he's-
seems
if
like.
he's
They're just
gone?
trying to set up the Nathrezim for a future storyline, and that would make sense. Like, especially when I read this again, to infiltrate other cosmic forces and spread the influence of death. Okay, so influence of death. If you take the cosmic chart thing, the newer one or the old one, and just make a big old pie, right? A 6 pizza pie. Like they're just trying to.
A six
Is
of
that
pizza
gonna
pie.
a 6 pizza pie? That's the title. 6 pizza pie. Nipples. 6 pizza pie nipples.
Yes, that's a good keyword to put in the title.
But you know what I mean? If influence is the thing, right? Then that's just the cosmic forces going back and forth. You know what I mean? Struggling for
But
power.
But death isn't.
Whatever that means to them. Well, okay, I got to look it up then.
I don't think death is one of them. I think it's necromancy and something else are like the two big points there. And in the Shadowlands is the, is it? I don't remember. I don't.
Well, dadgum Jim, I'm trying to figure out now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Which one's the newer one versus the older one? What's the older one look like?
Whichever one has
Is it oval versus?
round.
Is it oval versus circle?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I don't remember which one the new one is.
It's
I'm pretty sure they're fairly similar.
Yeah, they're fairly similar.
I'm gonna go with this one because it looks the best. So yeah, the Shadowlands. The Shadowlands is just a piece between reality and then the.
Oh, you're right. Undead and yeah, you're right. Death. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, but it rolls backwards into that. Yeah, so at that point, like if they're just vying for a piece of this whole pie, they're just trying to make theirs bigger for whatever reason that means. Then really there is like a ceiling to the story that we don't really have to be concerned about at a certain point, right? Where it becomes not as mysterious as it always is. Because that's one of the biggest frustrations is that we just never, there's always just this another thing on the other side of what's next that we just won't figure out for a long time. And there's a lot of things we just can't reduce down to make sense about. And that's frustrating. It's frustrating to be, I'm fine with being fished along in order to experience a story, right? But when it's over and over and over, and it's just like the other side of the next thing to come is just shit they're making up off, straight out of their ass. That's frustrating.
You don't like
what I mean?
story?
I just want to understand it holistically, more accurately. Like, why should I care? Why? Like, stop giving me all these aspects of cosmology, you know what I mean, and how they interact and all this stuff when I don't even have context of why that matters, right? The biggest storyline we've experienced thus far is a part of Disorder and the Fel and the Burning Legion, right? If you look at that chart, that's literally the biggest story that has to do with that big, or that's as much as we've done. Let me try this again. That's the most we've dealt with that chart of cosmology and its influence across the entire universe, right? The way it's influenced other things and why it got to that point and how it intersects with like the void and shadow and old god crap, right?
Well,
that makes sense. All that makes sense together. When you start throwing in more of these things like death, okay, how does that? Because even the Titan stuff, the Titan really didn't really get that deep. It got as deep as the Pantheon, and
right.
we don't know if that's the deepest that story goes, right? Maybe the Pantheon's just a little. I don't know the name of those things.
What? The World Souls?
No. The thing you oh gosh.
Words.
If you're at a park and you can go to this covered
Amphitheater?
thing. No, that's
Pavilion?
Pavilion. So they got this fancy pavilion out in space they go chill at, every so often, and maybe there's a more bigger.
Well, I think the way it is that like the undead, the Titans, the old gods, the Burning Legion, the wild gods, the Naru, those are all manifestations of those 6 things in reality. I don't think they exist outside of reality. I think that they are the manifestations of those individual 6 pieces inside of reality. Like the old gods don't live in the shadow or in the void. They are agents of the void in reality, right? All the nascent world souls that become Titans are in our reality because we live on one, right? So those are they're representatives of each of those 6 realms, for lack of a better term, or
that makes sense. I guess that's probably the confusing part about how they actually lay out these charts, and probably it's more just me being dumb, but
it is confusing.
I mean, it's like, I don't know, when you roll death back all the way to necromancy and the undead, and then try to compare that with the aspect of the Shadowlands, right? Where these beings aren't even they're not undead, they're not dead. The being, the denizens of the Shadowlands, they're not. They're their own beings. They were created there for some reason, but it's not actually in. It's not actually in reality.
Right. And I think it's like the Emerald Dream, where they are pocket dimensions. Like, if you think about the elemental planes, those aren't like on reality.
Okay, that's fair.
They
I didn't
are
think about
pocket
that.
dimensions. And I think the
And they
Shadowlands
far
is
existed.
yeah, the
well
Shadowlands
before, yeah.
exists as a pocket dimension that is basically influenced by the power of death and, and decay and the undead and all that stuff. I mean, it's all tied together, but it's like a pocket dimension or an adjacent reality, so to speak, where the dead from reality go there, unless you are tied to like the wild gods and all that stuff. But even the wild gods go to the Shadowlands, don't they?
Yeah. Well. Yes.
Yeah, this chart sucks. All right, moving on.
Somebody needs to be kicked in the nuts. I'm sorry. They just need to.
No, you get in trouble for that.
No. It's Rochambeau. It's
Oh, okay. I don't know. It's
perfectly fine.
there's a lot of lore drop in this stuff, but it is it's very hard to make a lot of sense of it because
And not in a fun way. That's the problem. It's okay if it doesn't make sense and it's very intriguing.
it just feels like
It's another
missing
thing that-
something.
Yeah, it's another thing that's like just it feels like a patchy story and dadgummit, that's not what I wanted when I find out more about Nathrezim because they are a very interesting it's an interesting storyline. It is interesting
Yeah.
the way that they infiltrate and influence, and even going back to Legion or on Argus or whatever, and the shiny bright Nathrezim dude. I remember a little bit of his storyline, but it'd be interesting to see if he's actually good.
Is it
or is he
Balnazar? Is that his name?
Is it Balnazar? I don't think so.
Oh, it just sounds like a light forged.
I think
Nathrezim.
Balnazar was in one of the classic dungeons, wasn't he?
Could be. I don't know. I hope that the light dude one is like really just still a bad guy, and just like
I do too. I really do. And he's just been.
I want them all
making
to
sure
be
that-
bad guys. I don't want any of them to break good, right? I want them all to just still be servants of death, regardless of whatever. And
So here's my thing: like when they died. Sorry, Mike. When they died, did they go back to Antorus?
so I don't know because like unless
I'm
Nathrezim
pretty sure that they said they did, but that wouldn't make sense then.
to Antorus, you mean to in the
When the
Twisting
demons
Nether?
Twisting
respawn.
Nether? Yeah, they go to the Twisting Nether, right?
Right, but they're not demons. You know what I mean? It's just like
Right.
here they are. They're this fucking race created from the Shadowlands.
Wasn't Antorus? Wasn't it the one that respawned
Yeah.
demons
Well, Antorus is the burning
or
throne,
recycled?
and it was on what the name was. Argus was the name of the planet. But I don't think it was initially in the Twisting Nether. I think they pulled it to the Twisting Nether, or something like that. It was somehow tied to the Twisting Nether, and that was unless you killed the demon in the Twisting Nether, they didn't die. They just went back to the Twisting Nether and recuperated and came back, and that was part of the reason why.
See, I was thinking that they went back to whatever. I keep saying Antorus because I thought that's what it was. I thought it was the point that they go back to and then they're recreated.
Well, I
'Cause
think
wasn't
it
that a
was
thing-
in the Twisting Nether, so.
Oh, I see. Okay, that makes sense. Then.
But that also lends credence to because the Eridar that were there, Archimond, Kil'jaeden, and who is the other one? There was Malchazar was another one, right? When they die, see, they were Eridar, so they were out of our reality, right? They weren't demons, but I think because they joined the Burning Legion, and then they were corrupted by the Fel that tied them to the Twisting Nether. But the Twisting Nether exists outside of normal reality, which is why at the end of WoD, when Archimond came through and killed Gul'dan, it was the same Archimond as the one we beat at the tree.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
as opposed to being one from a different timeline, alternate
Like the one-
universe.
Oh,
Like there's like when a demon exists, regardless of the timeline or the alternate reality, it's the same demon. So the question then is, so since the Nathrezim aren't from reality, and even though they're tied to the Twisting Nether, that ones that were part of the Burning Legion, if you kill them in the Twisting Nether and they die, do they just go to the Shadowlands and become themselves again because, they are
they were
Venthyr?
crafted from souls though, but they were
weren't.
crafted from
They
souls.
They weren't.
They weren't.
They were not.
Oh, I thought it said they were.
No, which is why Renathal refers to them more like brothers than the other souls
because
they were made by the same. They were sired by the same person in the same manner. It's kind of like in Tolkien's universe, the dwarves and the elves. I guess not really. The elves and the humans are kind of like brother species because they were both created by the same god, as a Iluvatar, versus the dwarves, which were created by one of the Ainur, which is like the sub gods or whatever. So like they're not technically the same. But anyway, other cosmologies. Yeah, no, I don't know. There's a lot there that could be better clarified for sure.
I think they bit off more than they could chew for this expansion. I'm wagging my finger right now.
Well,
waggy.
not just that, but with everything that's been going on, you know what I mean? There's a lot of shit going on with the company and with just the state of the world with the pandemic and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, it's ambitious. Would it have been different had a lot of this shit not been going on and they didn't have, work issues, pandemic issues?
I really would hope that the most of the story stuff would already be well in place before they started.
We know it's not, because Nathrezim was supposed to die. And so if Nathrezim was supposed to die, then no. If Nathrezim was supposed to die, and they decided,
maybe this is a result of that change, change.
Because they decided to keep him, so now they had to do something with him. So now they had to have him get rescued.
Well, right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's the reason this branch of storyline just feels awkward. That makes sense to me. I don't think I like it still, but that makes sense.
Because we know that they made that decision for us to not kill Nathrezim. And when they made that, did they make that when it was still in beta? I don't know. Did they make it before the raid came out, but while all the other stuff was going on? Probably. But then that pushes all the other stuff that follows after that, and like you got a whole different set of dominoes you got to line up, and
we still had hints of Nathrezim though.
Yes.
Before this patch, so that existed, but I don't know, the explanation was never really evidently there. That kind of feels like it was sewed into the time, the story. So
yeah, I don't know. They do force a lot of things sometimes, and I think that if they're trying to do a modular thing where they just got like the big beats they want to hit, and they just fill stuff out as it goes along, or they're willing to change story tracks along the way, that's a dangerous thing to do.
Yeah,
but
not sure how I feel about that, but we'll see what happens.
So we finally changed the topic. We finally went and did our guild run of Sanctum of Domination.
Yay.
It was fun.
It was fun.
The fights are fun. They're not normal. I mean, the Terragru one is kind of, run of the mill.
They're not normal.
Well, they don't feel recycled per se. Like it's neat. Like you go in to the raid and you go around and you get anima powers, and you can break the fucking phylacteries and get like little bonus stuff, right?
I loved that.
And then
I
you-
loved the throwback over to Torghast.
Well, I mean, technically it is. It's part of Torghast, which is neat that
You know
they
what I mean.
incorporated that stuff. And then you get to
Right.
kill that motherfucking terror group. Who's been a pain in the ass.
I'd like
Kill
that.
him. Kill him. Kill him.
But so the fight's a little bit interesting, and it's all based on keeping track of who gets what powers, because you have the ones that prevent the stun and the fear or whatever, and I think you're supposed to use that to block the chain move. But luckily, we have a small group, and we're on voice chat, so we can talk that. Doing that in LFR is a pain in the ass.
I didn't do Terragru and LFR did the other two.
I've done
I
it
got
several
him,
times.
like-
I healed it, and I was healing
Oh.
it, and every time we went through 3 wipes on it. Every time I was the last fucking healer alive, because nobody was doing the right mechanics, and they were fucking standing in the mist and all that stuff. And I'm like, the fuck is wrong with people? But yeah, so that was fight the eye fight for the Eye of the Jailer. Do you listen to the voice of the boss? It sounds a lot
that-
like Odin.
Well, that makes sense, I guess.
Well, yeah,
Because
because
eyeballs have the same voice as what they lived in, right?
but
Hello, Jim.
Doesn't your eyeball
I'm-
speak to you in your same voice?
yes,
I'm the left eye. How are you? Ah, God, that's hard.
what
I still think it's
making your
his
eyeballs
eye,
talk?
though.
Making your eyeballs talk.
You think it's his brown eye? Is that what you just said?
Oh,
It's his
no.
brown eye. Talking shit.
It is a
Oh my
stinky fight.
god. Jeez.
I like that fight too.
No,
I
that's
actually,
that's a good fight.
Which fight?
I
actually
like
The Eye of the
fights that
Jailer.
give us all.
is that
all
the
a
Oh, I
chance.
like that fight. That one was fun. I thought that was a pretty fun fight.
If the fight gives us a chance to break away from just smashing buttons as
Yeah.
DPS and doing different things, I enjoy that. I
Yeah.
don't like the mindless LFR-ness of it. That's why
Yeah.
I was saying, when I did LFR, Eye of the Jailer, 60% of us wiped, right? And I just sat there and I watched them kill him because there wasn't nothing to it. But on normal, that actually felt fine. I think
Well-
we had 2 runs maybe on it, or 3 runs or whatever.
Yeah.
That was it.
Well, yeah, because one of our friends, we were linking abilities, and he was trying to
That was
link
so
his
funny.
rocket barrage from his goblin off of his action bar, and he just went, "Oh no!" And you just see this little rocket just
Yeah.
kind of just go, and he's like, "Oh
Creep all the
shit."
way.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I gave him shit about the next day. I sent him a video clip from WoW of the racial from goblins, but. Yeah, I mean, we haven't done anything for probably a couple months, right? Raid-wise. And, a lot of people haven't been playing. They're on and off sporadically and all that stuff throughout that whole time, playing other games and whatnot. Like some people we know.
I don't know who you're talking about.
I know you don't. But just getting back together again, it was just it felt like everybody was refreshed and ready to do it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's we weren't hyper focused on, it's not like we're doing heroics, so it was relaxed, and it wasn't a big deal. It was the first raid back, and
It's nice.
and it was just everybody felt like they were ready to be back, and it was relaxed.
It wasn't nice to be
it
back.
was fun.
Yeah.
We were making jokes. I was drinking.
I was
So,
drinking.
I mean, I was trying to do the best I could as far as calling out fights I didn't know shit about.
I had a lot of water that night too, so I was super hydrated.
Yes. Me too.
Yeah,
Super
you guys are
hydrated.
funny because fuck you.
Wow.
I'll be the alcoholic. I was drinking whiskey. Get the fuck out of here. I was having a good time.
I was not drinking whiskey.
You were having margaritas, weren't you?
I was having margaritas.
Yeah. Okay.
They were very good.
Make it sound like I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, so that's been. I'm looking forward to Sunday because Sunday's going to be. We're going to go in. We're going to start over. We're going to get the first 2 bosses down relatively quick because and we had some really good pulls on the 9, right? I guess the Valkyria fight. I mean, they're Mosshorn now, but they're basically the Valkyr that had died and come here, kind of thing, and that's an interesting fight too. There's 9 Valkyr, but you only fight 3 of them. But you have mechanics from the other ones, and it's kind of like a run in, run out, move around, and all that stuff.
Do the
I don't
hokey
know.
It's split up too.
Do the hokey pokey.
Yeah,
It was a hokey pokey. Yeah.
Yeah.
but
No, again, it's a movement fight. You're not just drilling DPS, especially melee. I don't know if it's that boring for ranged or not, but when you just don't have anything to do when you're smashing buttons, it just gets old.
I think they did a good job. I like that, like what you're saying. They did it in the dance fight, right? Where you had to go and do the dance thing. I liked that too. And if you did it correctly, you got a buff. And I don't like that if you did it incorrectly, you got damage, because I feel like not having the buff was enough of a deterrent. You know what I mean? Like, because you want the buff to do more damage.
yeah,
Right?
Castle Nathria was a fun raid.
Yeah.
We just got burnt out, and it just got slogging down in the heroic stuff, which there's. It's difficult content.
I just like us better doing normal. I'll be honest.
Well, normal is just it's more laid back for sure, and I think if you're looking for a laid back experience, it's fine.
Yeah.
And it was fine. And this is so far been a good raid. And I have a feeling that all the boss fights are going to have something. I think the 4th one is going to be the Shade or the Remnants of Ner'zhul. So that'll be interesting. So now we're getting back.
Which one is?
I think the 4th one is going
That's
to
a
be
good
the
one.
Remnants of
Watched-
Ner'zhul. Yeah, I haven't
watched
seen
quite a bit of
anything
that.
on it. I mean, but now we're getting back into, because I mean, you got all kinds of fucking lore in here. The Eye of the Jailer is from fucking Odin and all that stuff. The Valkyr, servants of one, the Lich King, and then Sylvanas. Ner'zhul obviously was the first Lich King. I know there's a fight in there where, Garrosh is involved, and it's just, it feels like they've done a good job with the raid design. Everything else aside, like all like the janky story stuff going on and whatnot. I don't know if necessarily like the Covenant chapter concept is the best way to tell stories.
Right.
But it just feels like the raid is top notch. It's like I don't have anything bad to say about it.
Of the 2 bosses we've seen.
Well, I mean, no, I mean even in LFR, I've seen we've seen 3. What are you talking about? We did a couple pulls on the 9, the Valkyr fight, the last fight we did that we didn't down.
I don't remember that one.
Was the one with the Valkyr
They're
that
pretty
we
close
fight.
to it.
I don't
And
They
you
all
have to-
zip through and like with the lines and everything.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yes, that fight.
The run in out one.
Yes, where one of them
Yeah,
does a
yeah.
thing, you have to run out. The other one does another thing, you have to run in.
Yeah.
Yes.
It took me a minute to
A
realize.
hokey pokey fight. You just said
Yeah,
it.
I know. It took me a minute to realize that you didn't have to run out that far.
You just have to be out of the
You just have
circle.
to be out of the circle. I'm running all the way to the end.
But it's, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's good. And I do have to say, I have been doing Torghast, and I've been having a pretty good time with Torghast. I went in and I was doing, I read some articles somewhere where, like, this 3rd week gave you the opportunity to unlock the Adamant Halls talent in the Tower of Knowledge book, which what that means is that if you get a flawless run, meaning 200 points or more, you 5-star basically, instead of leaving Torghast, you get 2 more floors on top of it.
Oh, joy.
With different types of mobs, different traps, and it's not timed or anything like that. It's just, you go in and I think that one adds a couple of cloak transmogs. And I think maybe another toy and a pet or 2 or something like that. But I've only done it once.
The adamant ones?
Yes, I've only got a flawless on one run.
Uh-huh.
And I went and did the adamant thing, and it was just like, it wasn't bad. It was, whatever. But I had a good run that was on, I don't know. I tried to do it on the other one, but I was having issues getting the 5 stars on it. And I don't know. It's a pain in the ass. If you don't get the right powers, it just doesn't work out right.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I've been going back and trying to do it. You know what I mean? It's like, and I fucking hate it. You get through a goddamn floor and it's like 98% complete. I'm like, what the fuck did I miss?
Yeah, that's
I've been all
It's
over
the
this.
guy-
That's super frustrating.
The Fisherman Geico commercial has your last star on it. You almost had it.
It's just like,
It's very frustrating.
yeah, it is frustrating. But I was doing it on my shaman today because I got to get. Oh, that's another thing they did is they removed the cap of soul ash that you can get for a week, so you can get as much soul ash as you want.
Why did they not just have it removed to begin with?
Because
What is Soul Ash for at this point?
The lower, you still spend it if you want to get.
Oh, you got to get up to the base of the next one.
No, you can
still.
buy a rank 6 item and build it directly. You still need a rank 4 amount of soul ash,
Oh, I see.
like the 5130 soul ash or whatever the fuck it is.
But if you already have one and you're making your way up,
If
then
you already
you're
have
fine.
rank 4, you're just paying the additional cost for the soul cinders, right? Is that right? Is that the right thing? Yeah.
Sounds
But
right.
because
Sounds right.
those are the lower things, you get lower amount after you do it like the first time, but you could still farm it, which I'm going to be doing because I need to change I already changed my DK's legendary to a ring because rings don't have domination slots, which is good because I got bracers with a domination slot on it like immediately, and that was my legendary. So that was okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing for my shaman, but I just don't have enough to make the rank 4 hands for his because it's ahead right now and stuff. So I don't know, but like I was just going in and doing it, and I was having fun. It's like I get some powers, I could just zap everything with fucking lightning, and it's just like it dies, and I have fun. And then I don't get my 5 stars, and I get pissed, and I walk away, or I pour another drink, and then I go back in. But it's something to do, and it's like, it doesn't feel, it's close, like 13 points off of the fucking 5 star. You know what I mean? It's like,
Annoying, isn't it?
well,
Yeah.
it's annoying, but it's not, it doesn't make me feel like it's unobtainable. You know what I mean? It would be dejecting to be like, every time I do it, I'm fucking 100 points away. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
but like, it's like right there, and it's just like, man, maybe this one I'm going to get the right powers, or maybe this time I'm not going to miss a fucking phylactery, or I'm going to free all the souls, that kind of stuff. And it's just like,
Oh, do the freaking vases count too?
Yeah.
yes, everything.
Yeah.
Oh, why?
It's honestly, it's too much pressure.
Okay, it sounds like
Too much
a
pressure.
lot, but it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Because
It's too much pressure.
because when I did the 5-star run, I didn't have 100% complete. And if you just move from thing to thing, use your empowerment as it comes up and all that stuff, it just starts to flow. Once you know, like obviously like the first floor is a little rough because you don't have all the powers and all that stuff yet. But as long as you get decent powers and stuff like it starts to flow really fast, and you're going to find yourself hitting those par times or beating them, and you know, not necessarily by a lot, you know, like 10, 15 seconds on a floor or something like that.
Jim's just in Torghast flowing, just by the beat,
vibing in there. Yeah. Shut up.
What?
What? I don't like you.
Dang.
I don't know. It's just like you can get in there and you can get a rhythm, and it's just a matter of running around, blowing everything up that you see, and we do that anyway. What?
When I do it, I get obsessive about getting every single vase.
Yeah.
And then I find out that now that counts because now I'm gonna miss it. Now I'm gonna miss the ones every single time. It's gonna be somewhere that I miss one.
So have you ever done the one where you go into the room and it's just a bunch of rocks over a pit of lava, and then there's a bunch of vases off to the right, and then there's some way up off on top of a ledge that you can't fucking reach, that I can't reach or whatever? I skipped them. You know what I mean? And it was just like, well, fuck. It's like, I know I'm not going to get 100% here because I can't fucking hit those. I have a hard enough time with the fucking lava as it is, being a giant-ass fucking torrent trying to jump across these little crevices.
That's why I wonder, maybe they are, maybe they do not count up to their percentage, right? Maybe they're just a certain fraction of the overall thing.
Well, yeah,
and
like for the floor. For the floor, it's like 1 or 2%, and like it averages out your percentage, right? So if you get 100 and then 98% on 2 different floors, that's what, 99%, right? So I mean, it's not as detrimental to be 1 or 2% behind on something, especially if you don't spend time trying to do it.
It's 5 stars 100% regardless?
No, it's 200 points.
Okay.
It's their score of 200, and those things factor into it. Obviously, getting 100% on everything, will raise it up. You know, will give you the maximum amount of points for completion. But if you obviously don't waste your time trying to get something that's going to be really hard to get, you're going to save time, and that's going to bring your time down, and you'll get a little bit more points for that. So you can make them up somewhere else. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a balance. You know, it's like the way to get 5 stars is, you know, I don't think you could run through and do it super fast every time. You know, just skip straight to the end bosses and stuff like that and get 5 stars. Maybe you can. I don't know. I can't do that on any of my characters. But I do think that the more you put into your talents, the easier it gets. You know what I mean? It's like that does help.
Cap tower knowledge, Jim.
No, you're right. They do kind of cap it a little bit, but it's, I mean,
frustrating.
But they gotta gate something. Yep. Like somebody's there. Like maybe I've said this already. I don't care. I'm saying it again. Every single patch, every single release, anything they do, they gotta. Somebody's wearing a bracelet that says, you know,
cap it.
How would somebody gate this? Or have you gated something today? Is this gated?
Yeah.
Was it HWMG?
Howard
Metzen gate it?
No, I don't know. J. Allen Brack, is that his name?
He's the current president. Yeah.
How would him gate it? Like
he was on the ice cream.
How would Bobby Kotick gate it?
No, well, Jalen Brack will be the best one because you get to say, like, you know, you think you don't want to gate it, but you actually.
I thought gatekeeping was bad anyway.
Was he the dude that said that? You think you want it, but you don't?
Well, look at their biggest competitor. Look at their biggest competitor. No, that wasn't. That was J. Allen Brack.
Who said you think you want it, but you don't?
Yes, that was the ice cream. Wasn't it? No, because he came back into the ice cream thing for Classic.
Yeah.
And then admitted he was wrong or some shit. My point is like, I just lost it. I just lost my point. I just lost a really good point I had in my brain, and it's not there anymore. God,
It's missing.
dog. Just stop. Do not say anything for about 15 seconds. It was J. Allen Brack. What would he do? Oh, their biggest competitor is Final Fantasy 14, right? Did you guys play Final Fantasy 14 when it first came out?
Yes. No. Well, not 1.0, but A Realm Reborn when it first came out, yes.
He's talking about
No,
the
the
original
first
release.
Came out.
When it
It
first
was
came out.
When it was
completely-
garbage.
It was gated. It had a series of gates that everybody leveled up to, and you couldn't get past that gate until like a certain period of time or a certain percentage or whatever it was. And they did that several times. That's how the game was set up. And it, like, they admitted that was a fucking terrible system.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably an extreme example, but gating in general, like,
Yeah.
why? Right? If you don't want to make your content obsolete, then don't make obsolete content,
Right.
right? And don't rely on the game having loads of content. Let the players be the content.
You know
It's
how
not that fucking difficult.
You know how the best way to have gated the tower knowledge would have been? Would be to not put a cap on it, but make the talents in the tree cost more at a higher curve, right?
Right.
You know,
Right.
instead of like 20, 40, 100.
Oh, so
be
you
like,
do more to get to that point.
right.
Right,
So you can
right.
go in, if you want to spend a week running Torghast straight and get to a point, you know, where, you know, a little bit higher than somebody else.
I like that because that's a grind. Give me a
Yeah.
grind. I'll
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
a grind.
No,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Make it grindy, but make it super fucking grindy.
Right.
That's how you should gate it.
It's like rep. Like I think rep should still be the same way it used to be. Like you can't just go grind rep anymore.
Yeah.
You got to wait for stuff to populate to get rep from it. That's dumb.
Yeah. Let me
Give me the
just let me
furbog
just go
whatever
to-
crap.
or
again.
or let me
go
just
kill
go into
pirates for 5 rep each.
it. Right. Or let me just go into a
Yes.
dungeon and go into a dungeon over and over again and farm that dungeon
And
for
put a
rep.
tabard on.
And put a tabard
Nope.
on.
I hated that. I hated that
I
one.
didn't really like the tabards, but I
hated
mean,
that one a
Or
lot.
what about
I-
Mist when you could pick
right.
random or bonus rep?
Yeah.
You remember that? You could
Yeah,
pick
that
a-
was
a
nice. I
bonus
liked
rep?
that.
It was really the same system, but yeah, I don't remember enough about that. I do remember the tabards way too much, and I remember getting frustrated
That was
over it.
Cataclysm.
Because
I
at
think.
that point,
Yeah. Tabards were
the
cataclysm.
tabards were.
Yeah.
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 The rep tabards were Cataclysm.
Yeah.
I thought that was Lich King.
No, not for rep. You could get them
Well,
for
anyway.
rep, but they gave you rep in dungeons in Cataclysm when you wore them.
Mm-hmm.
I just know it was. don't know.
Annoying.
I guess the dungeons, getting rep from the dungeons in Lich King, then per whichever one you did, wasn't too shabby. That wasn't too bad. Because at that point, at least there's some context to what you're doing, grinding for it, right? You're grinding it in the certain area that the zone's in, or the
Yeah.
dungeon's in, or whatever. That's not too bad. But and they also, I think they capped it. I don't think you could get it beyond Revert or whatever it was. But no, it's just stuff like that. Like, just let there's way too many use cases from older games that existed well before Warcraft and all these other ones that prove that players can be their own content in a game.
Yeah.
You don't need to babysit the entire game for somebody, right?
Yep.
Like, it's one thing that Final Fantasy does it, and they have this ginormous, storyline that you get to go experience across. I'm sorry, but WoW doesn't have that.
Yeah.
Like, they
Well-
kind of had it, but you can't really get it without. At this point, you can't really get it the same way unless you.
The nice thing about content in Final Fantasy 2 is that it's almost always relevant, because there's almost always stuff in there, because you can't just go in there and solo that shit, right? Up to level 50 content, A Realm Reborn, like old world content, yes, like you could go and solo the primals and stuff like that. Anything past to that, you need a group for. Whether it's a group of, 4, or for the more recent stuff, obviously you need a normal, whatever the dungeon calls for, group. But you still need more people. You can't just go in and do it yourself. And I think that's one of the things that they do right. as much as it frustrates me because I'm not a person who likes groups necessarily that much. I like lone wolfing it. Yeah. But it's kept that content relevant for a lot longer. And there's always, you can go in Party Finder and look, and there's always people running those groups and, you know, doing learning parties and doing this and that. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I mean, WoW can't really do that because most of their casual content probably is people running old stuff
Well,
by themselves.
I mean, let's think about the world bosses right now, other than the new Maw world boss. I mean, it's out of date. It's out of date at this point.
Yeah,
like
they don't update them.
You get a Korthia token, and then you know it's better. So I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks everybody for listening. It's been fun. We talked about the emergence of the Nathrezim coming out of the shadows. Talked a little bit about our our experience in the Sanctum of Domination and some Torghast stuff, and yeah, had a good time. So anyway, thanks everybody for listening, and yeah, talk to you later. Oh yeah, no, I guess stuff. No, sorry, I fucked up. I done fucked up. You can check us out at facebook.com/server-restart-in. Shoot us a tweet at server_restart, and catch you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.